And welcome back here to Carrabba's Italian Grill at the Fayetteville Town Center. It's the Nye Automotive Q&A here on QSportsTalk.com with the head coach Adrian Autry. And Red, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Well, as people get their notifications that we're on and the camera's on and the mic's on, you can enter into the stream chat, start saying hi and asking away if people have some questions, comments about the most recent win, the nice road win at Pittsburgh. Nice bounce back win, Coach, following the game on Saturday at North Carolina. And I know you talked about it a little bit, showing the game back, just to point out, what was going right and what was going wrong. Can that be an uncomfortable film session when you're going over after a game like that?
I think it is. I think when you play like that, you kind of really don't want to revisit it. But I thought while it was still fresh in my minds, because I know the next day we had to move forward and get prepared for Pitt. So I just wanted to we got back a little early. It was an early game.
Yeah.
So we got back a little bit early, and I think we as a team and as a coach and someone trying to help your team get better, I think sometimes those things are necessary. Obviously, we show film, but to be able to watch it, the game, and kind of go through it and discuss and bounce questions back and show them some things, I think that was really very beneficial for them.
From the stream chat, again, if you're on the QSportsTalk.com, you can enter into the stream chat and say hi and ask some questions. This from Caleb. How do you balance offensive concepts and letting your players play with freedom?
Yeah, that's tough. I think it's something that we work on every day. We actually have a session in our practice called concepts. Where I think everyone can run plays, but really trying to teach our guys how to play. How to play. A play can be defended, but if you know how to play, that's a lot harder to defend. So we do a lot of that. We spend a considerable amount of time on situations and showing them and putting them in different spots and drills and things like that.
This is from Roddy Richards. With Cal, SMU, and Stanford joining next season, is the ACC staying at 20 league games, or will there be more than 20 league games next year?
You know what? I haven't even thought about that yet and haven't even read any literature, but I'm sure that they would have to adjust the games. Probably going to play, they'd probably try to keep it at 20, I think. I'm not sure. They probably just have, a couple of people play one time instead of two times. So, but I don't know, though, to answer your question, so I'm just guessing.
I think, sometimes people think, for in this case for you or for me at work or Polly or whoever, that they think maybe because you work somewhere you must know all the answers. And, people ask me things all the time at work. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. You're worried about doing your job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this from
a good question.
Steve in North Syracuse. When Nathim McLeod was available, you said there'd be games where he'd be needed and games where we would need Malik Brown more, especially games against big men who can shoot. Now that he's unavailable, which games are the ones where we will likely miss him the most?
The North Carolina game. North Carolina game was a game that, when you play against a guy like Armando Bacot, who's big and strong, and he plays around the basket, I thought if we had Naheem, in that game, that would have really been beneficial for us. That would have helped us out a lot. And actually, this next game, this next stretch of games, every team has a guy that is very good around the basket and strong and inside. So, I thought the ACC would be where people really would have, seen Naheem a lot more in his value and what he, what we kind of foreseen him, really, taking us over the hump when we got to ACC play.
This one here, Coach, when you were a player, what were your songs, your tunes that you listened to before the game? What were your hype songs?
It was a lot. It was a Public Enemy, KRS-One. I used to love the one "Welcome to the Terror Dome." Public Enemy.
Yeah.
I mean, I would switch it up and say, "Welcome to the Dome." I can't say the other name no more. That's a new name. But no, I used to listen to all types of music. Whatever was kind of
that was it.
The song at that time. That's what I was listening to on my headphones.
I saw Public Enemy with the Beastie Boys at the War Memorial.
Oh yeah, I was
like
Beastie Boys. Oh yeah,
80 something or another. My one.
You gotta fight for your right.
Well, it's more of a longer story, but I drove them around town.
When they were, really?
Because my landlord at the time where I was living, he did security for concerts and things like that. And he said, "Hey, how'd you like to make $75 on whatever day of the week it was?" And I said, "Sure."
That must have been cool.
So I picked that was my job. I had to pick him up at the Hotel Syracuse, bring him up to Marshall Street to grab something to eat, bring him back down to the War Memorial, and then get him there for the sound check, and then hang out with him for the sound check.
I just went to a concert in Rochester this past summer. It was EPMD, KRS-One, Rakim. I'm trying to think of it. Dougie Fresh, and there was one other band, and it was best concert. Rakim Live was the best concert ever.
I can't believe I don't know where was I at. I probably that's not a concert I would want to. I would have liked to make that one.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh yeah.
What's the last concert that you actually went to? I mean, obviously your schedule.
The last concert I went to, it might have been at the Amphitheater. It might have been Mary J. Blige.
Last summer, or was that 2 summers ago?
2 summers ago.
That was 2 summers ago, I think.
Mary J. Blige concert. Nah, it might have been longer than that. I think that was the last concert I went to. I take that back. No, I didn't. I actually took the guys to a concert this summer, right before the season started, down A Boogie concert.
Oh, okay.
You don't know who A Boogie is, do you?
Well, I was listening to him on the way in.
A Boogie with the hoodie.
Let's see, this one from Go Orangeman. Will you be bringing in another center through the portal for next season?
You know what? You never know what your roster's going to look like. Again, I think with the return of Naheem and some of the guys that we have, I don't know if that's, a place that we, look, but we always going to look at and see how we can get each other, get the team better. If there's something out there that's worth taking a look at, we'll look at it. But, you just never know what the roster's going to look like. So.
And how does that work? Because the guy can go in when he goes into the portal. Do you have like alarms that go off for notifications that if you're keeping an eye on certain players and bang?
Well, I think,
or there's guys that's their job. Keep an eye on.
Yeah, when you put your name in a portal, they typically have to go talk to our compliance people first before they put the name in the portal. So we would know, that.
Or from another school, like if somebody that you had an eye on playing wherever. I mean, like how soon does that information become?
The answer is they put their name in the portal, but obviously people talk, so just things kind of fall in your area every now and then. Or you hear things, this is just the way it is.
This question here: do you have or have you ever had a favorite pro wrestler, Red? Have you ever been a WWE guy?
I had a lot of good wrestlers. Again, I don't know if it was what was Hulk Hogan in?
WWE and the WWF before that, obviously, but like WrestleMania.
WWE, like Jimmy Fly Snuka.
That was a good era right there.
Those are my guys.
That's when I was like a Macho Man guy.
Yeah, Randy Savage Macho Man.
Yeah, Macho Man, the Ravishing Rick Rude, all those guys.
Roddy Piper. Yeah, I used to like all those guys. Yeah.
What will it take to keep defending Norshon on Saturday?
You said, what's the keys to defending Norshon?
I guess so, yeah. It's kind of paraphrasing here.
I think, like any good player, you got to try to make it tough. They're going to get their opportunities. I think you try to make it tough. I think you try to just, kind of match his physicality and just just be aware of him. Just know that he's around and you got to battle him. That's the reality. You got to battle him, and he's going to get his fair share. He's a really good player. So he's a handful.
This here from Caleb. How do you start closing the gap on the top tier teams, Coach?
I think obviously it always starts with players, and trying to be able to have the same type of players, as far as skill, athleticism, and things like that. So I think it's really about players, and I think for where we are right now, obviously, in a new system, we're doing things a little differently, and on both sides of the ball. So I just think it's going to take a little bit of time, but it's always about having a plan, being clear, and then recruiting your players, getting good players.
This one here from Steve. He says he's heard various speculations on the type of player that Chris Bell could become. Shumpert, Sutherland, Nichols. Who do you see Chris becoming like?
I mean, those are all great comparisons.
Those are tough ones. Those are tough ones right there.
Yeah, I think he's on his way to to being in that in that company. He's really playing well. He's starting to really grow and be consistent. And doing some other things besides just shooting the ball. Or the one thing that I'm very proud of Chris and that he's working on the defensive side of the ball and things like so. So I think he can grow into those guys in those type of molds. I think he's a double-digit scorer right now, and I think he still has room to grow in that department. But I think he can impact the game on the other side of the ball as well. So I'm excited about his potential from a defensive standpoint.
I know it's hard to compare guys from different eras too, and I remember Coach Boeheim. I was talking with Matt on the way in about Dave Bing and his Ring of Honor game coming up here in a couple of weeks. But the coach at the time said that he felt that from that era, from a long time ago, Dave Bing still had the kind of abilities that would translate and would be able to play today.
Right.
Compared to some of the other guys.
Right. Yeah. No. I've heard all the stories about Dave Bing and his. Obviously from coach's athleticism, and he could score, and he was tough. He had a tough-ness about him. So he had a
swagger,
nose to score, a little swagger, a little attitude. All the ingredients that you need to be really successful and be a good player.
This from Matt. Who was your favorite teammates when you were playing for Syracuse?
Oh man, I loved all my teammates. John Wallace,
it's like your kids. You can't say which ones do I.
Luke Jackson. I think all my teammates, we all had special relationships. I love my teammates. They were like my brothers. So I spent a lot of time. I was the guy that everybody come hang out at the house with, or I was always hanging out with my teammates. But again, all my teammates, we had different relationships, and they were all special.
Who was? Did you have roommates, or when you went on the road, who was your roommate?
My roommate was Conrad McCray, who's no longer with us. That was a guy that I grew up with. He was a big part of why I came to Syracuse.
Sure,
because outside of Coach Boeheim and the Dome and all that stuff.
All of that.
But he was a really close friend of mine, so that was my roommate.
And I saw a painting that you were gifted with about a month or so ago.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. A friend of mine.
Yep. Good, great dude, and that was a great painting. That was touching. That was nice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And going back to that, like you said, all those guys, your friends and the relationships you had at the time, and that's back when guys obviously were playing for 3 or 4 years.
Yes.
Now it doesn't happen like that just because that's the nature of college basketball. Do you think those guys, today's guys, are going to miss that aspect of the college experience, not having that connection that you guys did because you did play for so long on the same team?
Yeah, I think the one thing about this generation, they kind of stay connected, and they all start younger. Like when we were growing up, like I grew up in New York City, so like it was just like I stayed in New York City. These kids, you talking about one person that lives in like Oklahoma or California. They're like, oh yeah, I know him. He's a good friend of mine. Yeah, we stay in contact all the time. So these guys all stay in contact. So it's probably a little different, but that. What you're talking about is that bond. Those stories.
Oh yeah,
being able to share those stories, and when I run into John Wallace or Dave Johnson or Billy Owens or any of those, you just tell those stories. You share those stories, and so that's what you're talking about.
And it's just different now.
Yeah, it's different now. It is.
This question: what's the difference in regards to Matthew Cleveland's game from when he was at Florida State to now at Miami?
I think he's shooting the ball better, and I think he's really. I thought at Florida State he didn't shoot the ball as well. Now he's shooting the ball at a high level. I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest difference that stood out to me.
This one from SU Orange 44. Again, if you're in the stream chat and watching here on the QSportsTalk.com, you can enter in and say hi and ask a question. What's the one thing that surprised you the most so far as a head coach versus being an assistant?
What I'm doing right now, the time, being able to, your time, and then you just always, your mind is always racing, trying to, think of, all the things that takes part in the program. I think that's the biggest difference. Your mind as a head coach, you're constantly thinking about how can you get better as a player, how can you get your program better, how can you get players better, and being organized and prepared, because you're responsible.
Because your name is now on the.
Yeah.
That's your.
Oh, yeah.
That's your signature.
Oh yeah.
So those are the things that like get to 2 a.m.
Oh yeah.
when you're not sleeping where maybe you used to, but those are the things that are keeping you up.
Absolutely.
This one here, can you speak on Elijah and Donnie's expectations for year one?
I think they two talented guys. They'll fit in. They'll be, the good thing is I think we'll have some veteran guys around them, so they'll be able to adjust and acclimate themselves.
This one here, simply, Coach, what was your order tonight here at Carrabba's?
You know what?
What'd you go with?
I ate a little bit before I got here, so I wasn't really that hungry. But the bread with that oil sauce is really good. Yeah, that's what I had. I've been eating on that, but I didn't order anything tonight.
Nothing. That's all right. Well, yeah, no, and after you leave here, are you going back to
the office?
Yeah, back to the office. Like I don't know. I mean, it's 8:20 or so.
No, I won't be going back to. I got all my stuff that I need right now, but I'll definitely be looking at some stuff when I get home. So I got my stuff with me.
I saw on that line today, and this was in women's basketball. TCU, they've had a lot of injuries there, so they're having open tryouts.
Wow!
To try to fill up the roster, they've had to. I think they might have had to forfeit a game just because they couldn't field a team.
Wow!
So they're actually just opening up to the TCU women's student body to try to come up with enough players to field a quality team.
I think I might just take the forfeits, man.
Yeah. Are there? What's the? I know I've heard different variations of like the Ronnie Cycli story of him just kind of like walking in and deciding, saying, "Hey, I want to give it a shot," type of thing. Was it that? Was it? Is that how it happened?
Yeah. You know what? I don't know. But I mean, if that happened that way, man, I hope I get lucky like that.
I'd heard that they just kind of walked in, and
an NBA player just walks in and says, "Hey, I want to play.
Hey, you want to play basketball?"
I would love to know that. I would love to get that opportunity. Gee.
This one here from the stream chat. Did Judah go into the Pitt game looking to pass more? It seemed like he was trying to get teammates involved early. He also grabbed 9 rebounds. Seemed like he was really focused on getting the team involved.
I think it was more what we talked about, as a team, those conversations. Obviously, him and JJ, they have a lot. They have the ball a lot. They're, a big part of what we do. So I think, but overall as a team, we talked about, sharing the basketball and trying to make the right plays and bringing along, other players with us.
And JJ, and I don't know if we were talking with you this morning about it or maybe Griff about, when a guy, even, regardless of how good an athlete or good a player is or where they are, you still got to develop a chemistry with wherever you end up, and it doesn't just happen like that. It takes a little bit of
it
practice
takes
and
time.
games, and it seemed like last night or the Pitt game for JJ, he kind of found a spot for himself. He just looked like he felt comfortable out there.
Yeah, I think he was out there. He wasn't kind of worrying about. He was just playing, and I think. You got to work to get to that part, especially when you come into a situation. And obviously, we're a young team, but we return a good amount of guys from last year's team. So it takes time to get integrated sometimes, no matter what. And you can, we got 4 or 5 new guys, and with the 6 guys that we had returning, so that takes some time.
This one here, what was your favorite game that you played in as a player?
My favorite game that I played in. I mean, it was a lot of them. A lot of them had to do with me at the Dome. I remember the Kentucky game my senior year at the Dome, and obviously a UConn game my senior year. But really, my whole senior year, all the games, they just all stuck out. The Georgetown finale game, home game, just all those games at the Dome. So it was my senior year for sure.
There's a lot of future NBA guys on that lineup you were just describing there with Kentucky and.
Oh man, there was a lot of guys. Kentucky. Jamal Mashburn and Rod. What was the big guy's name? I forgot his name. Andre Riddick was a guy. They had some guys.
Antoine Walker. Or no, he was. They was
after me. Yeah, they came after me. Yeah. They were after me, but still, Jamal. They had the Monster Mash. They had some guys. I think Walter McCarty was on that team. Travis Ford, who coaches at St. Louis, he was on that team. So now there was some guys. They had some guys.
This one here from Pat wants to have you rank, in your view, if you were to rank just the three players, Kobe, Michael Jordan, LeBron, 1, 2, 3.
Well, I would say that's hard, but man, that's a hard question because I grew up a Michael Jordan guy, so
yeah,
just call me old when I say that.
Yeah.
But Kobe and LeBron were just those are tough. Those are tough, but people kind of forget about Kobe. I think Kobe was right there. He was right there.
And he played in so many playoff games. It was like an extra 3 seasons of basketball.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We were on vacation, my wife and I, in the Bahamas, and I couldn't tell you what year. You could Google it, but it was Michael Jordan happened to be staying at. It was the Atlantis.
Oh
resort.
Yeah.
He liked his cards, so he was the area was roped off, so it was just him playing against the dealer. But that was the same week that he had that bizarre injury with a cigar cutter. I can remember that. But he cut like the skin there between his thumb and his forehead, so he had to have surgery on it down there, and they screwed it up, and he had to fly back to Chicago. But that's when that happened.
Man,
my one brush with greatness.
How close did you get?
I was about as close for you. It was just right on the other side of the cigar out and sweaty head there, and he was playing $10,000 a hand.
That'll cause you to clip your hand.
Yeah, and he was playing 2 hands at once, so it was 20.
Oh man, gee.
I got a question for you, Coach. I've never asked. What schools recruited you other than Syracuse when you were in high school?
Back at the time, I had a lot of schools that recruited me. A lot, predominantly the Big East, pretty much, all the Big East schools. But when it came down to it, my visits were Kentucky. Rick Pitino was there at the time. Kentucky, Louisville.
Denny Crum.
Yep. Louisville and Pittsburgh, Pitt, and I actually
Ben Holland or no? Who was that?
No, I was Jamie. I mean, not Jamie. It was Paul. What was Paul's last name? Paul.
Paulie's going to Google that for us right now.
But so the Pitt was because actually Sean Miller was there. Sean Miller might have been my host at the time.
Okay.
But my high school coach, he left after my sophomore year and took the job at Pitt as an assistant coach. John Sarandria. I actually got a chance to catch with Coach Sarandria last night, the other day at Pittsburgh. It was really good to see him. So obviously I took a visit there in St. John's, Louis, and Syracuse. That was my list, man.
Paul Evans.
Paul Evans. Who did I say?
What was Paul? It was Paul. You were half.
Did I say Paul?
Yeah. You were there.
You didn't have the. You just didn't know the last name.
Yeah. Paul Evans. Yeah.
Let me hear. Somebody says Sibilia. Was it Paul Sibilia? No. What arena is your favorite one to play in? Aside from home, obviously.
The Dome. Yeah. Providence was a good one to play in.
The Duncan.
It wasn't the Duncan Center then. I think they played at the Civic Center back then. Providence was a good one to play in. Boston College was a good one to play in back then. Which is those are good. Those are good venues. And obviously, playing at the Garden was the one though. St. John's playing at the Garden that was the best one.
This one here. Then we'll start to wrap it up here. What was the biggest takeaways, Coach, that you took away from the games in Maui?
That we can compete. That we're not that far off. Obviously, they were picking up the things that we were trying to get done on both ends of the ball. And because that was early on, right?
Yeah.
Right early on. I mean, you go play against Tennessee, that was tough, and we competed for a while. Again, I thought that was the biggest thing I took away from it, and that we had things that we can get better at. But I was really pleased with the way we competed, in Maui against Gonzaga and Tennessee. Obviously, we fell short, but we competed. And Duke was the same thing. The only game that I was really disappointed in that we didn't come out and compete from the beginning was the North Carolina game.
That's in the rearview mirror now.
Yeah, it's in the rearview mirror, but that was the only game.
You saw it on tape, and you said, "All right, done." We learned what we're going to learn from it.
Yep. But for the most part, I thought coming back from Maui, I felt good about where we were at. I felt good about the way we competed, and we played against some two top 10 teams.
It's the Nye Automotive Q&A with Coach Adrian Autry here on QSportsTalk.com every Thursday night starting at 8. We're going to wrap it up here, Coach. So we will talk to you next week on the radio and then back here at the Carrabba's at 8 o'clock here on the Twitch format. And good luck on Saturday. Go Orange.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for chatting today.